About 3/4 of teenagers use social networking sites, but there's a warning out that says those sites could harm at-risk kids. A new report from the American Academy of Pediatrics issued a set of guidelines for doctors to deal with the psychological impact of social media on teens. It says the virtual world can have a very real impact on the self-esteem of a teenager because a lot of this generation's social and emotional development is happening while they're on the internet.
We're not talking about your typical moody teenager. These are kids who already have some sort of tendency towards depression or anxiety, who spend time online with Facebook, and it sort of augments their symptoms.
Dr. Dan McGee is a pediatrician at Helen DeVos Children's Hospital. He joins us once again in studio. Thank you for joining us.
Good to be back.
Well, the emotional ups and downs of social media, they can be extreme. Let's talk about who's most at risk.
Well, I think the children are most at risk are the ones that have other issues to begin with, that they're socially isolated, that they don't interact well with their peers in the beginning. And then if you put them into an isolated environment like your computer up in your bedroom, then you're going to have more problems.
How do you think parents need to coach their kids on dealing with this? Even kids that have some of these emotional concerns, they've obviously come up sooner than when they start going online, so maybe they are more isolated, something like that. How can parents help those kids still enjoy being online and yet not fall into these anxiety situations?
Well, I think the bottom line is everything in moderation, you know, that you just don't carry anything to an extreme. Set guidelines for how long your child should be involved in any of the social networking that's going on, and make sure you know where your child is going and are they going to age-appropriate sites.
Right. You know, it's not like the online world really isn't separate from our world, and yet somehow it's sort of treated that way.
Well, I think people of my generation, you know, we separate it more so than tweeners and teens do now, that they think this is a part of their whole life. You know, their fingers are connected to their phone, they're connected to their iPad.
All the time.
And they just, you know, this is just part of how they communicate.
Right. And it's also, it becomes this forum for bullying, and we see that as a problem on and on, you know, over and over again in our schools, and as we continue to see our children in social situations. Online bullying, it's hard to monitor.
Right, and I think the key word is to monitor. Make sure you know what your children are doing, and talk to your children and see if they're having any problems. If you start seeing signs that they're becoming more moody, more emotional, or they're becoming more withdrawn, you need to investigate why that's so. One of those possibilities could be their online activity. There's other possibilities as well, but that's one of them.
The American Academy of Pediatrics came out with these guidelines to help children in these situations. Let's talk a little bit about what you talk with your patients about and parents that are concerned about this. What advice do you give them?
Well, again, it goes back to the everything in moderation, that, you know, don't make that your only after-school activity. You know, make sure your child is getting outside, engaging in physical activity, and not spending excessive amounts of time involved in social media or other kind of media.
And see what they're saying on there.
That's right.
On those sites, yeah. Dr. Dan McGee from Helen DeVos Children's Hospital, thanks for joining us once again.
Thanks.